I don't understand, James. I'm worried about our son. He was just fine the day when we went there. Don't worry, honey. I think he's feeling unwell. That's why he's so quiet. Give it some time, and he will get back to normal. James replied in a calm tone after hearing my concern about Austin. I hope so, I said while taking a long sigh. My name is Martha Geller. I got married to the love of my life, James, at the age of 21. But even after 15 years of our marriage, I was unable to conceive. We tried everything and spent our entire life savings to get pregnant, but were unable to. After years of suffering and prayers, God finally blessed us with a son like Austin. He was our only child, and we loved him very much. But the problem was that for trying to get pregnant, we were not able to save a single penny to raise our child. Both of us are working to provide everything for Austin. He is 7 years old, and he was always a bright and cheerful child who could bring a smile to your face even if you were having the worst day just by his childish and cute acts. We used to be busy all week and were not able to provide much affection, but no matter the case, we would always go somewhere out to eat on the weekend by Austin's choice. Austin was asking to go to Domino'S Pizza that day, but we could not take him, so we decided to give him a surprise. When we came back from work, Austin was playing with our cat Myuu. We adopted Myuu before Austin was born, and she loved him with all her heart. They were like siblings, inseparable. As we entered the house, Austin came running into my arms as always. "Austin, are you ready for a surprise?" James asked him with a big grin on his face, while I smiled softly, holding Austin in my arms. "Yes, Daddy!" he squealed in excitement and looked at me in hopes to find out about the surprise. "Not this time, Austin. This surprise is from the both of us, so I cannot tell you." I pinched his nose playfully while saying that. He cutely pouted at my response. James and I both started laughing, and looking at us laughing, he also joined in. We sat inside the car, and James drove us to the Domino'S pizza location that was on the verge of the town. When we reached, the time was 11:08 p.m., and their closing time was around 11:30 or something. As Austin saw us entering the pizza place, he was super happy and excited. The place was almost empty except for one or two customers that were sitting in there. We let Austin choose the pizza, and he ordered a family-sized non-veg cheese burst pizza for us. The order was ready within 15 minutes or so, and we started to eat. That was when Austin said that he wanted to use the restroom. "Do you want me to come with you, honey?" I asked while standing up from my chair. "No, Mom, sit down. I'm a big boy now. I can go on my own," Austin said, and he sneakily looked at the girl standing over to the corner. James and I looked at each other and smiled. "Okay, big boy, go on your own then," James said with a big smile on his face. I laughed, looking at Austin blush. He went to the restroom, and we waited for him to come back. But Austin did not return, even after 20 minutes had passed, which made me worried. A Domino's employee came and told us that it was closing time and we should hurry, so I decided to go and check on Austin. I asked James to come along with me because Austin had gone to the men's room. I waited outside the washroom while James went in to check. After a few minutes, an extremely worried James came out from the washroom carrying Austin in his arms, who was unconscious and had wet his pants as well. Watching my boy in that condition felt like thousands of needles had stabbed deep into my heart. I got so worried that I immediately snatched Austin from his arms and hugged him. I asked James about it, and he told me that he found him in this condition when he went in. We immediately took Austin to the hospital. The doctors told us that he only had a mild fever, and it was also because he had wet his pants. But his heart rate and blood pressure were a bit higher, which made it look like he must have gotten scared of something. After coming back from the hospital, I changed Austin's clothes and took him to my bedroom to sleep, because I was too worried to let him sleep alone. Austin woke up screaming in the middle of the night. I embraced him and patted his back and kept saying that everything was fine and that I was there for him. He cried without speaking a word, and after calming down, he finally slept while I stayed awake, looking after him the entire night. After that day, Austin lost his cheerfulness and stopped speaking, which made me extremely worried. He would often wake up in the middle of the night screaming because of a nightmare. I asked him several times, asking him about what happened in Domino's Pizza, but he kept quiet. After losing every chance to cheer him up, I remembered that he got a crush on the girl whom we last saw at Domino's Pizza, so I decided to let him meet her and ask him, "Austin baby, do you want to meet that girl from Domino's Pizza?" As I asked him this, surprisingly, his eyes got bigger in fright, and he started to scream and have a panic attack. "He's going to kill her! He's going to kill her!" And then he fainted. I did not understand what was happening. I called James and told him that I was taking Austin to the hospital and asked him to come straight there. As James reached, I told him to look after Austin and not to leave his side no matter what. I went to the Domino's to check what made my boy like this. After reaching, I asked around about the girl and found out that she had died. She went to the washroom the same night, and after coming back from there, she died from a heart attack. The strangest part was that she died after we brought unconscious Austin to the hospital. I still could not figure out what happened that day, and how did Austin know that she was about to die? But then one day, I found a drawing that Austin made that looked like a monster with devil horns. Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. This is an incident I witnessed in my first month after joining the New York police force. I was really excited to see my future forward, but within a month, I experienced something horrible that almost took me and my other team members to hell. My name is Brian Ducklet. I am 25 now. At that time, I was just 21, and it was my first month in the New York police squad. I was very happy to work with others and was really excited about all this police and thief kind of stuff, which I had always seen on TV since my childhood. It was a normal day as usual, and I had just reached the police headquarters. I was checking some previous files which my senior had asked me to do when the phone rang. Since everyone was busy with some other task and I was nearest to the phone, I got the opportunity to receive it. I took the phone, and before I could say anything, I heard screams and shouting and a lot of other noise also. I got alert and asked on the phone who was on the other side. After a few seconds, a loud but shrill voice shouted to help them. Someone was in the bank with a gun, and he was trying to rob the bank. I understood everything and asked him for the address. As soon as he told me, I rushed to my senior's office and knocked on the door hard. He asked me to come in and I explained everything. The situation was serious, so without wasting any time, he pushed a buzzer, and within a minute, all the guards gathered in his office. He explained the whole situation and ordered us to deploy our forces around the area and surround the bank. We rushed toward the vehicle, and within 10 minutes, we were outside the bank, which was being robbed. The guards were killed, and the bank was totally silent. No one was coming in or going from the bank, which meant that the robber was inside the bank even now. We got off the vehicle, loaded our guns, and deployed outside the bank while holding our position. Our senior came out and announced with a mic. He warned the robber to surrender and leave this matter peacefully, but no reaction came from the robber. We waited for him outside the bank, but as we were afraid that if we tried to break in, he might kill some hostages. After 10 minutes, we saw someone coming from the bank. He was the robber, but he was wearing a Domino's uniform just like Domino's delivery boy. He had a gun in his hand and a bag in the other. He came out while taking a hostage at the gunpoint with him. He was a clever one and knew that if he would have come alone, that we might have shot him down, but now We were helpless. We couldn't take any action until he was taking that hostage at gunpoint. He started to walk towards us when one of our snipers shot him in the leg. He got injured and fell down there, and the hostage ran away from him. We were running towards him to catch him off guard when he started to shout and asked us to stop where we were if we wanted to be alive. We couldn't understand why he was saying so, but he was a robber and we needed to catch him anyhow, so we walked to him slowly while pointing the gun toward him. He was almost caught, but then came to the twist. He shouted again and told us that he had a bomb inside his jacket which could explode any time, so it was better to stay from him. All this time, he kept on begging us to get away from him, but we didn't listen to him and went too close to him. We all thought that he was just faking this bomb and explosion story to scare us, but when we reached him, the bomb started beeping really loudly. He screamed at us to get away, and before we could turn and run to safety, the bomb detonated, and the pizza delivery boy exploded into pieces. In this incident, I along with 4 other members of our team suffered heavy damage due to that explosion, and we were taken to a nearby hospital immediately. I was unconscious and didn't know what happened in between that time, but when I woke up and recovered a little, I asked my colleague about the whole case, and what he told me really shocked me. He told me that the pizza delivery boy was just a decoy. He was just a puppet whose strings were in other hands, and the main criminal was pulling the strings and forcing him to do whatever he asked. He ordered a pizza from Domino'S, and when the delivery boy went to deliver his order, he kidnapped him and strapped the bomb to him. He kept the remote control with him and told him that if he didn't rob the bank and give him the money, he would push the button and the bomb would go off. Now I understood why the robber, who was not actually a robber but a victim, was begging us to get away from him. He was really a nice guy who was trying to save us, even though he knew he was going to die. The real criminal was not caught yet, but the investigation was still going on, and our team was sure to catch him soon. After that day, 3 years have passed, and we have no clue about the real culprit even now. He would be roaming in the city freely, and here we were searching for him, desperately to pay him equally for his crimes.
This happened a few months ago to my friends and I. We are university students in Cape Town, South Africa, so when we aren't trying to just get through the semester, we like to let our habits get the better of us and go out for drinks. On this night, we had just finished what felt like an extra long day at university and decided to head to a bar about 5 minutes from campus for some much-needed stress relief. The evening was going well, although a bit slow. It was enjoyable with everyone having a drink and getting a bit restless. So me being one of the more outgoing ones in the group, I suggested we head to the pool bar not far from where we were. Everyone agrees and we get our stuff to go. We all jump in my car and we get to the bar, but being a Thursday night, parking was a bit scarce. I finally managed to find a spot about a block away from the bar, but in a secluded side street. I should also mention that this bar is in one of the sketchier parts of town, but is normally quite safe due to the amount of nightlife associated with being so close to a university. We walked to the bar and no one really felt uneasy, nor did anything happen to make us feel that way, which was quite surprising. After a few hours of some pool and just relaxing, we decided it was time to go grab some dinner before restaurants close, as being in South Africa means that most restaurants, even fast food, close really early at around 7 or 8 p.m. to comply with the curfew. We decided to stop at the pizza place below the bar to grab some food before we all decided what the plan was for the end of the night. So because our group was so large and the pizza place being so small, we decided to have those getting food go inside while the others who didn't would just wait outside on the street. This was an easy decision as the pizza place had a massive open window with built-on counter, so we could still all talk to each other. This is where things started getting a little weird. While we were waiting for our friends inside the pizza place to come out, this massive white van pulls up past us and stops. The driver wasn't an intimidating-looking dude. He was skinny, looked to be about average height with shoulder-length blonde hair. A pretty standard-looking dude for the kind of area we were in. He calls me and asks me if I think his van could fit in a parking spot just behind him. For perspective, this parking spot could probably fit like a small hatchback, maybe. This dude is driving a full long-sized panel van. This makes me kind of uneasy, as I thought that as a driver of a car, you should know where your car can definitely not fit, and this is one of them. I explained to him that I didn't think it was even worth attempting. He responds by telling me that he has faith in his ability and I should come stand behind the van and direct him in. This gives me major red flags, and after a few back and forths, he just pulls the emergency brake up and sits and stares at my friends and I for what felt like an eternity. He then thanked us and drove off. This sparks my friends to come outside from the pizza place, as they just saw what happened and were very confused. We all were kind of weirded out, but think nothing of it, and everyone gets their pizza, and we try to decide what the plan is for the last hour or two we have before curfew cuts things short. Most of us decide this is where our night is probably going to end, as we're all kind of weirded out by the guy in the van. A few others decide that they were going to stay and just Uber home a little later in the evening. With our group number cut down to 4, we decided to walk back to the car and just head home. When we left the pizza place, a homeless person called at us and was insisting we had nothing to worry about with the guy in the van, which didn't help with anyone's nerves. We then decided to head to the car, but as soon as we turned the corner to approach the side street where the car was parked, we see Van Man again. This time, not so happy as he seemed in his encounter earlier. I made a cheeky comment about him finally finding a parking spot so he could fit in while we were walking past each other, and he just stared at my friends and I, not breaking eye contact even when we passed him. I turned around to see if he was still looking. He was, but as we turned the corner of the side street with the car, I saw it and my heart sank. The van, horribly parked half on and half off the sidewalk, back door slightly open. Upon seeing this, I turn around and see Van Man is now walking towards us, but he said something that confused me at first, but immediately made sense after. He said, "Hey, please just watch my car." Which confused me, but when he said that, 4 men sat up from leaning on the wall next to it and began following us. My friends and I were slightly ahead of them, so we were trying to discuss the game plan because it was obvious if we did nothing, something horrible was going to happen. My friends start walking faster and I remain at the same speed, frantically searching my pockets for my car keys, all the while shouting at my friends to wait up and asking what the rush was. All this was in hopes that the guys behind us, who were gaining on us at that point, were oblivious to us knowing that they had sinister intentions. As soon as the car came into view, we booked it, jumped in and drove away. But we were only mere seconds from not being that lucky. After locking the car doors, I saw the men surrounding the car. I managed to get us out, and looking back in the mirror, I saw a 5th man by the van at the bottom of the street. I still have no idea what their intentions were that night, if it were to rob us, or just beat us up, or worse. I don't really like to think about it, and really do consider how lucky we were that night. I ask that when you're out, no matter how innocent an interaction with someone can seem, always pay attention to the little things.
Domino's was the first place that I got to work in after getting laid off from my first job. It was one of the easiest places that I worked in, and I found it very easy for me. Now, it wasn't the very high-end job that I had before, but this time, working at Domino's was good for my mental health, and this was something that I really wanted. I was done with the high-end race and competitiveness, and I just wanted to take a break from all of that and just focus on some emotional growth. And this place seemed to be a fit, just right good. And so I stayed at this Domino's working the shifts because I did not want to break free from this relaxing work. It might have been tiring physically, but mentally everything was good. I was getting paid good enough, and being a cashier, I had much more privileges than the guys in the kitchen. And since we had 4 people working the shifts, the thing was pretty flexible and I was able to do whatever I want in the free time. And I decided to take up jujitsu lessons. It was something that I always wanted to do, so I decided to take jujitsu and work my way up to a black belt in it. I would do my hours at the Domino's and then straight away leave for jiu-jitsu. It was pretty great to be able to work up a normal job and then leave to do something that I really loved. It kept my body and my mind both in check. Around a month into the job, I was working night shift. It was the night before Christmas, and I was working the shift for my friend since I didn't really have any plans for the Christmas. Our place opened at 7, so I was there early, waiting for everyone else to come in. And then when they came in, I saw that we were already very short-staffed. We were not planning on opening for the night, but since it was a Domino's and not a family business, we didn't really have any say in the matter. So we started making pizzas, and since it was the only decent pizza place in the city, we were getting the Christmas Eve rush, and people started coming in. And not just that, we were also getting the online deliveries racked upon one another. We only had one delivery guy, and it was getting hectic with people coming in and calling in. It was very busy, and the kitchen and the work environment in the kitchen was getting heated too. And because of the orders coming in, it was getting very problematic to keep the track of order. And even the people sitting in the place were getting impatient with their orders, while some were leaving. Some were just constantly shouting at us to hurry up, and I was busy apologizing for the delay. I forget to keep an eye on the kitchen, and things were getting way out of hand there. The kitchen staff was busy fighting each other because it was a chaos in there, and people outside weren't really helping. And then one of our workers snapped, and he burnt his hand and shouted, "Fuck!" which scared a lot of people. But there was this one dude. He was the customer, and he just wouldn't stop shouting at us and the staff, and was getting on the nerves of everyone in there. While everyone else was busy attending to the worker to dilute the situation, I just passed on the fresh garlic bread batch free of cost to everyone in the room. And when I gave that man the bread, he threw it from my hand and said, "I want my order, not this second-hand donation, asshole. Bring me my order." And I said very calmly, "It will be out, sir. Things are very busy and we are a bit short-staffed." And he replied, "Not my fucking problem." And I said, "I will be back with your order," and went away. I saw that he started harassing one of our injured staff members, saying mean things to me and using racial slurs at him from a distance. I said, "Sir, please stop harassing our employee." But he wouldn't buzz, and suddenly he started being physical with him and started slapping him on his head, pushing him to do his job. And when the employee retaliated, he took the gun out and raised it and said, "You don't have nothing to say, motherfucker, do you?" And that was the breaking point for me. I jumped over the counter, looked at the man, and I quickly approached him and he pointed the gun at me. Before he could, I used an Americana, one of the jiu-jitsu moves on him, and brought him down, disarming him. And then one of the people in the Domino's called the police and the man was apprehended. He had the courage to point the firearm in a public place and endanger so many lives around him. If I was not the one to act, I wonder what irrational decision he would have made. I'm just glad that I knew enough martial art to put him down. But then again, a gun most of the time, it won't really work. So keep your distance with sociopath like that. That night was long, but thankfully it ended without harming anyone. Well, anyone but one of our employees who got his hand burnt. But in the end, everyone was back at their house for Christmas in time. Though I definitely had something else in store for me. After closing the Domino's and on my way home, a car stopped in and a bunch of guys stepped out and beat the shit out of me. And one of them was the same guy from the altercation, the guy I took down. Turns out he had the pull in the police force and was let go with mere warning. They beat the light out of me, and I remember the last thing he said. "Not so tough now, huh, pizza boy?" From that day and today, I wished I crossed roads with him again. I bet he wouldn't want to cross me right now that I have the black belt.